Good evening. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another installment in our City Survival 101 series. Tonight, we're going to be talking about mental and spiritual resilience and how it will help you during an urban crisis. Before we go on, I want to tell everybody, if you're in YouTube and you're in chat, go to the live chat. That way you can see all the comments, not just the ones that YouTube wants you to see. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you come join us on this journey. You can go back through the playlists and see all the previous city survival videos. We're almost to the end. We've only got two more after this one. And finally, I want to make a comment about what's going on in the country right now. If you came to this channel and you're watching this live or you're watching it in replay, looking for commentary on what happened on the 10th or today, you're in the wrong place. That's not what this video is about. The only thing I'm going to say about what happened and what's going on is this in regards to this video. So our Starlink went out 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, 2 weeks ago now, week and a half. And so we didn't get to do this video last week. We had to push it off till this week. And then normally we do this on Wednesday. And I was down with the grandkids yesterday, so we pushed it off till tonight. And it's kind of strange how tonight's topic is directly related to the aftermath of not only what happened yesterday, but what happened 24 years ago today in America. So it's a pertinent topic, and it pertains to more than just the end of the world or a collapse or a crisis. Okay. So the timeliness of this topic is not lost on me. And finally, the last thing is, I did not get a chance to make a PowerPoint for this. Oh, hang on a second. I did not get to make a PowerPoint for this. So all you're going to get is me reading the script. Okay. You're going to have to use your imaginations and put your own pictures in there and put your own captions in there. And I know some of you live in a fantasy world a lot, so you're gonna have an easy time doing this. No, I'm teasing. I apologize for not getting visual aids into place so that it was easier to understand what I'm talking about. Next week when we do the next one, I will not make that same mistake. Let me get my notes up and running, and we will start with the program. So here's a quote from Albert Einstein. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. You can only take advantage of those opportunities if you have the right mindset. And so the first question we want to ask is why mental and spiritual health matter. Okay, in any urban or suburban crisis, whether it's a natural disaster, civil unrest, economic collapse, or grid failure, the visible damage is obvious. We can point to collapsed buildings, empty shelves, or darkened streets. What is harder to see and often more devastating are the invisible cracks that form in the human mind and spirit. Stocks can eventually be resupplied and infrastructure can be rebuilt. When fear, despair, or hopelessness take over, the will to live begins to erode, and without that, survival becomes infinitely harder. Now, let me ask everybody a question. Who has been through an event, a negative event, and had to deal with the spiritual or mental aspects of it, and came out? If you were unprepared, how did it go for you? Just go ahead and put a short comment in the chat if you want to. If you're watching this on rerun, go ahead and put it down below. All right. It's in the non-material repercussions, the erosion of hope, the loss of meaning, the quiet collapse of inner strength, and most critically, the weakening of the will to live that most often determines whether a person freezes or acts, bends or breaks, gives up or adapts. Amid the chaos of sirens, scarcity, and unraveling norms, those who cultivate and protect their inner resilience will not only survive, they will also guide, support others to rebuild. Preparedness, then, goes beyond beans, bullets, and band-aids. It is equally about belief, mindset, purpose, and the will to live. Without these inner fortifications, even the best external preparations eventually collapse under the unseen weight of emotional and spiritual fatigue. This is why full spectrum preparedness, or FSP, framework of mental and spiritual health are not just optional add-ons. They are foundational aspects. They provide the strength and stability that allow every other aspect, food, water, shelter, security, etc., to function effectively and endure the test. Okay, so the next thing we want to discuss is how mental and spiritual resilience fit within the full spectrum framework. Within FSP, mental and spiritual resilience is more than just another category. It's an anchor that ultimately holds all the other aspects together. The other aspects can only carry you so far. If the will to endure collapses, it's not far enough. Resilience gives them meaning, strength, and staying power. They ensure you can have rational decision-making under stress, adaptability in shifting environments, hope that fuels endurance, moral clarity to act justly even when law breaks down, and leadership and empathy to foster unity in chaos. Without this anchor, each aspect becomes brittle. With it, each one is strengthened and integrated. Here's a simple breakdown of how mental and spiritual resilience interacts with the other aspects. Food. In times of scarcity, it is resilience and determination that helps you ration wisely instead of hoarding and panicking. It gives you patience when meals are monotonous and gratitude even for meager portions, helping maintain morale when appetites are tested. Water. Thirst quickly breaks down the will to endure. Resilience empowers you to stay calm, think clearly about filtration and sourcing options, and resist reckless or unsafe choices driven by desperation. Shelter. A roof over your head protects you physically. Resilience makes that shelter a sanctuary. Whether it's a fortified home or a temporary refuge, resilience enables routines, rituals, and order that prevent despair from taking a hold inside. Security. Weapons and barriers can deter threats. Only resilience keeps fear from turning into paranoia or brutality. It provides the moral compass to protect without becoming predatory and the clarity to respond rather than overreact. Medical. Treating wounds and illnesses requires not only supplies, but the ability to manage fear and pain. Resilience empowers caregivers to stay calm under pressure, prevent panic when resources are scarce, and helps patients push through suffering with hope. Communications. Radios, phones, and signals mean little if mistrust or despair break the will to connect. Resilience fuels the courage to reach out, the discipline to share information clearly, and empathy to comfort others through words. Transportation. Vehicles and fuel are only as useful as the judgment guiding their use. Resilience helps you decide when to move and when to stay. It provides the patience to endure delays and difficult routes without giving into frustration or rash choices. Finance. In times of collapse, money may lose its meaning. Resilience ensures you don't lose yours. It fosters creativity and bartering, steadiness when faced with economic loss, and perspective to separate true needs from destructive greed. And finally, community. Perhaps the most critical interaction resilience fosters the trust, empathy, and shared purpose that turn a group of individuals into a lifeline. A resilient spirit transforms neighbors into allies and prevents fragmentation that could doom survival efforts. Lynn says, man's search Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is a great book about inner strength. Your why is what keeps you alive. Absolutely. That's a huge, understanding your why is a huge part of what we try to convey here. In short, mental and spiritual resilience is the why behind every how. It is what turns stockpiled supplies into nourishment, shelter into safety, defenses into justice, and groups of people into functioning communities. Without it, even the best logistical plans eventually collapse under the weight of emotional breakdown, panic, or nihilism. With it, every other aspect for preparedness gains depth, meaning, and staying power. To fully understand this strength, it's important to recognize that mental and spiritual resilience are not identical. While they reinforce one another, they operate on different layers of the human experience. Hey, local prepper, thank you. I'm preaching it today. I'm feeling it today, man. I am feeling it. I am feeling it. King Corso, good to see you. Mental resilience versus spiritual resilience. Though both are woven tightly together within FSP framework, mental and spiritual resilience each address distinct aspects of survival. Mental resilience governs the mind and our ability to stay calm, regulate emotions, and think clearly when pressure mounts. Spiritual resilience reaches deeper, shaping meaning, purpose, and the will to endure beyond immediate circumstances. Together, they form a complete foundation for preparedness. Well, that's a hard one. For preparedness, each strengthening the other while meeting different human needs in a crisis. Okay, let's talk about mental resilience first. All right. Mental resilience is primarily psychological. It is the ability to stay calm under pressure, manage fear, and regulate emotions and make rational choices in the face of uncertainty. It relies on habits of thought, stress management techniques, and cognitive flexibility. For example, a mentally resilient person might practice breathing exercises during panic or reframe setbacks as solvable challenges rather than insurmountable defeats. Who here has gone through something that has really truly tested their mental resilience? Go ahead and just put a one in there. You don't have to explain why. And the reason I ask is because it's a good thing to remember these times, because they act as a baseline for where we come from and where we're going. All right. And so everybody has gone through this. The question is, did you pay attention, and did you, like it says, either reframe a setback as a solvable challenge, or was it just an insurmountable defeat? Lynn says one. I'm going to say about 1,000 there. Seriously, it's seems to be the human condition in most cases. Okay, now let's talk about spiritual resilience. Spiritual resilience reaches deeper into meaning and purpose. It is the capacity to endure suffering by anchoring yourself to something greater than the immediate circumstances: faith, philosophy, community, or a sense of a higher calling. Where mental resilience says, I can handle this, spiritual resilience adds, this struggle has meaning. And as far as the will to live goes, that's the most important part right there. This is a side note. This is not in my notes. That's the most important part right there, is it has meaning. Because what is the sense of simply surviving something if you can't thrive through it? And thriving can come in many different forms. You know, it's not necessarily what people think, but without meaning, it's all for naught. Both forms are common in human survival, even if the expressions vary. A secular individual might draw spiritual strength from a life philosophy or devotion to family legacy, while a person of faith might lean on prayer, scripture, or ritual. What unites them in their role is in sustaining the will to live, that driving force that turns survival from mere endurance into a purposeful fight for life. Together, mental and spiritual resilience act like two strands of a rope, Each can bear weight alone, but when braided together, they become far stronger and more reliable in the storms of crisis. In urban and suburban environments, these storms are intensified by unique challenges like high population density, constant connectivity, complex social dynamics, and such. They can test even the most resilient individuals. Successfully navigating these pressures requires cultivating a personal network that supports both mental and spiritual well-being, a network of trusted relationships and resources that reinforces inner strength and provides stability amid the distinctive stresses of densely populated, interconnected communities. Okay, now this is the first thing we need to look at here when we're talking about this is since this is a survival 101, city survival 101, what are some of the special challenges you're going to face in an urban or suburban setting that you may not get in a rural setting? In urban and suburban environments, the intensity of crisis is magnified by high population density. Fear, panic, and aggression spread quickly, turning small disruptions into larger crises. Dependence on complex systems. Loss of electricity, water, transportation, or internet can leave residents disoriented or isolated. Sensory and information overload. Noise, sirens, and media saturation amplify stress and reduce focus and rational decision-making. The illusion of safeties in the suburbs. This is really big in the suburbs. Limited resources and overconfidence can create unexpected vulnerabilities. This is why we always audit our preparations. Isolation despite crowds. Social connections can collapse when communication networks fail, leaving individuals feeling alone. Think about how many people you know that only have online connections. They have disconnected from the physical world as far as interpersonal relationships go. It's a growing trend across the country and across the world. Moral injury risk. Witnessing or being forced into ethically challenging situations can cause lasting guilt or trauma. Limited spaces for reflection. Urban and suburban environments may restrict opportunities for spiritual grounding and stress relief, i.e., going off by yourself and not being bothered by somebody else. Stimulus stressors. Managing safety, supplies, communication, and dependence all at once can quickly erode mental resilience. These unique pressures underscore why mental and spiritual resilience is not merely beneficial, but essential for navigating crises in urban and suburban environments. Recognizing these challenges naturally leads to the next step, building a resilient personal network web of trusted relationships and resources that strengthens mental and spiritual well-being, supports effective decision-making, and enhances overall survival in high-pressure situations. Now, who has lived in a big city and even whenever there's not a crisis, has suffered from some of these stressors that we talked about? I can tell you this from living in Springfield, Virginia, major suburb outside of Washington, D.C. We suffered from a lot of these stressors constantly. And if where we worked downtown, where Lynn and I worked in downtown Washington, D.C., Marine Barracks 8th and I, magnified. The stressors were magnified on a daily basis. So let's talk about building a resilient personal network. Yeah, because like anything in preparedness, it all starts with the individual. All right, so we're gonna work on a personal network. Once you understand the importance of acting as a first responder for both you and your others' mental health and spiritual health, the next step is cultivating a resilient personal network. Okay, guys, confession time. I spent about 2 hours today rewriting about half this chapter, and as I'm going through this, reading it to you, I'm seeing places where I missed editing properly, and that was one of them. I reordered the chapter, so sometimes I may say some stuff that doesn't make sense chronologically, and that was one of those times. All right, but we're still talking about resilient personal networks. This network serves as the foundation of support before, during, and after crises, offering practical assistance, emotional stability, and collective wisdom. A strong personal network isn't built overnight. It requires intentional effort. There's that word, intentional again, guys. Trust and ongoing maintenance. Some key strategies in developing resilient networks. Identify trusted individuals. Choose people who share your values, demonstrate reliability, and provide constructive support. Diversify connections. Include friends, family, mentors, colleagues, community members to create a broad range of perspectives and resources. Invest in relationships. Regularly check in, offer support, and engage in shared activities to strengthen bonds. That's that social capital. If you're not out there investing in these relationships, you're not going to bank up social capital. And whenever a crisis comes and you don't have any social capital to spend, you're going to suffer. Clarify mutual expectations. Discuss how you can support each other during crises, including communication preferences and boundaries. Share knowledge and skills. Offer practical guidance, preparedness tips, and coping strategies while learning from others' experiences. Foster emotional safety. Create an environment where vulnerability is accepted and mental or spiritual struggles can be expressed without fear or judgment. Listen, this one goes out to all the guys in the watching this in the chat and watching this in replay. Got to get out of the habit. When somebody asks you how you're doing, you got to get out of the habit of going, I'm fine. All right? Because chances are you're not fine. All right? And not discussing it can be very detrimental. I'm telling you that from personal experience. All right? So get out of the habit of saying, I'm fine. You know, you're going to have to open up and risk somebody using it against you later, but the alternative is worse. By deliberately cultivating these connections, you create a network that reinforces personal resilience and enables you to support others effectively. A resilient personal network serves as both a safety net and a springboard, providing stability during crises while fostering collective strengths and well-being. Even with these networks in place, the negative impacts of a crisis are inevitable. Recognizing this reality underscores the value of connecting to a broader network of structures that complement personal relationships and provide additional layers of stability and guidance when challenges escalate. So who are you going to put, again, here's a question for you. Put a 1 in the chat. Who here has taken time to invest in a resilient personal network? Who has done the legwork before anything ever happens negatively to build these relationships and build this network to help you be more resilient? And if you haven't, give thought as to why. All right, give thought, think about why you haven't done it. And if you can't come up with a good excuse other than, I don't want to talk to people, anyway, that's not a good excuse either. There's no good excuse for not doing this, guys, seriously. And that comes from somebody who doesn't like people too terribly much. Okay, so now that since we've built the personal network, we're going to start building a broader support structure. All right, resilience is rarely cultivated in isolation. While individual practices like meditation, journaling, or physical fitness strengthen personal endurance, a robust support network amplifies the effort and provides a buffer against the shocks of crisis. Before disaster or societal breakdown occurs, an individual can take deliberate steps to establish the structures that will help reinforce mental and spiritual ability. Top of the list, trusted personal network. At the core of resilience are people that you can rely on, family members, close friends, and mentors who understand your values and priorities form a first layer of support. These relationships provide emotional stability during high stress periods and offer practical guidance when decision making becomes difficult. Investing time in in nurturing trust, clear communication, and mutual accountability strengthens these networks, creating a foundation that can be leaned on when challenges arise. Next, we want to work on community connections beyond the immediate relationships. Involvement in broader community structures, religious congregations, local volunteer groups, hobby clubs, or preparedness networks expands your support system. These groups offer shared purpose, collective knowledge, and diverse problem-solving approaches. Being actively engaged fosters a sense of belonging and meaning, which is critical for maintaining morale and perspective during a crisis. So get out there into the social groups or the social organizations in your community. Elks Club, VFW, American Legion, your church groups, your men's group at church. There's all sorts of different organizations you can get into, and these people may not become your inner circle, but what they're doing is they're providing a deeper depth to the pool that you're in. All right, you've got more opportunity to be resilient by engaging in these organizations. The next one is professional and specialist resources. Mental and spiritual resilience is also reinforced by access to professional guidance. Establishing connections with counselors, spiritual advisors, or mentors skilled in crisis management before disaster ensures timely, credible support when it is most needed. These professionals can provide coping strategies, ethical frameworks, and decision-making guidance, helping individuals navigate stress without succumbing to a panic or despair. I reconnected with, well, I didn't reconnect with him. I sent a thank you message to a mentor that I had when I was in the Marine Corps, and apologized for not using him more. That you guys may have heard us talk about Colonel Boggs at some point during our lives. I actually found him on LinkedIn and sent him a personal note. And the wild thing about it was he's got a personal connection with somebody that I went to school with in the 80s. They know each other from professional engagements where he lives. I thought that was very interesting. The next one, structured routines and practices. Support structures are not exclusively external. They include organized habits that create psychological stability. Regular meditation, prayer, exercise, journaling, or study groups provide predictable touchstones that anchor the mind and spirit. When practiced within a community or alongside trusted partners, these routines also foster accountability and shared growth, reinforcing both internal and external resilience. Okay, that's the second time we've heard the word accountability. That's a huge part of mental and spiritual resilience is personal accountability. Knowledge and skill networks. Resilience is strengthened through when individuals are connected to networks of knowledge. This could include preparedness communities, skill sharing circles, or online forums focused on survival, mental health, or spiritual development. These connections provide ongoing education, expose individuals to alternative perspectives, and cultivate confidence in navigating unfamiliar high-pressure situations. By proactively building these support structures, an individual creates multiple layers of resilience, emotional and spiritual and practical, multiple layers of resilience, emotional, spiritual, and practical before the crisis emerges. That sounds weird. When the unexpected strikes, these networks are stabilizers offering resources, guidance, and reassurance. Even with these systems in place, crises inevitably exert pressure on mental and spiritual health, challenging composure, clarity, and emotional stability. Understanding this reality sets the stage for exploring how to recognize and manage and mitigate these impacts when they arise amid high-stress situations. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Let's do a commercial break here. All right, I want to since we're talking about preparedness, city preparedness, I want to talk about. Let's do Jace Medical. Where's Jace Medical? Rock Pot Food. Where is it? Jace, right there. Let's talk about Jace Medical, guys. So September is National Preparedness Month, and we are affiliated with Jace Medical. And right now they've got several really good sales going on. Pardon the glow from the tablet. I gotta have my notes on this. So the current sales that they are having, the first one, 25 off your first Jace case and 50 off the second Jace case or kids case. $15 off orders over $99.95. Use cases daily and Jace Aid minis, and $50 off over $300 for the Jace Pantry and the Jace Aid. Now they've got the products. They've got the Jace case, which is 5 antibiotics or 5 or the counter meds, your choice. And the antibiotics are given by a board certified pharmacist. We've got Jace Daily, which is the 1-year supply of daily prescriptions. That's the service I use from them. Jace First Aid, which is first aid trauma and wound care, and Jace Pantry, which is long-term hydration and nutrition supplements. You can scan that QR code. Let me get can I get the comments off here? Yeah, let me get the comments off right quick. You can scan that QR code to go to our affiliate link with Jace, or you can go down in the description below and click that link. I highly recommend doing it. And if you're not using Jace, you need to find a reputable supplier for these things and use them and become more prepared, become more resilient in that way, because your physical health will affect your mental health. All right. Now, that was our commercial break. Let's go back. Let's get that off there. Boom. All right. Let's go to mental and spiritual health in a crisis. When disaster strikes in a city or suburb, the pressure isn't just on your supplies or survival skills. It's on your mind and your spirit. Fear, confusion, and stress hit harder when everyone around you is under the same strain, and the usual routines that keep you grounded suddenly vanish. It's easy to feel like you're losing control, even when you know what needs to be done. Understanding common psychological responses is the first step to taking back that control and keeping both yourself and those around you steady. Common psychological responses to the intensified stresses include shock and disbelief, anxiety and panic attacks, depression and emotional numbness, anger, paranoia or irrational behavior, survivor's guilt or hopelessness. These reactions are natural. They don't remain hidden inside. Eventually, they show themselves in outward disruptive ways. Shock and disbelief may look like someone staring off blankly at destruction, unable to act even when action is needed. Anxiety can manifest in trembling hands, shallow breathing, or compulsive, frantic decision-making that endangers survival. Depression and numbness might appear as withdrawal from the group, neglect of hygiene or duties, or simply laying down and refusing to get back up. Anger and paranoia can lead to lashing out at allies, baseless accusations, or reckless confrontations with perceived threats. Survivor's guilt often drains people from motivation, making them feel unworthy of survival or resistant to accepting help. Left unchecked, these visible behaviors can spread like contagion, eroding morale, disrupting group order, and even endangering carefully laid preparedness plans. A single individual's breakdown can destabilize an entire family or survival group. While these reactions are natural, they don't have to dictate the outcome. Just as muscles strengthen under resilience, the mind and spirit can be intentionally trained to endure the pressure of crisis. By cultivating practices, routines, and relationships that provide mental and spiritual support, individuals can create buffers against fear and anxiety. Okay, these buffers. Probably the most important thing here is you have to take personal accountability here. So we're going to look at taking personal responsibility for mental and spiritual well-being during a crisis. Even with strong support structures in place, the ultimate responsibility for mental and spiritual well-being rests with the individual. Networks, communities, and professional resources can provide guidance, comfort, and practical assistance. They cannot replace personal vigilance and intentional self-care. Recognizing this empowers individuals to take deliberate steps to preserve clarity, resilience, and hope before, during, and after a crisis. So let's talk about what we can do before a crisis at a practical level to help build our resilience. Number one, cultivate grounding habits. Set aside daily time for reflection, meditation, prayer, or journaling to anchor the mind and spirit. Number two, manage stress proactively. Practice techniques such as controlled breathing, mindfulness, or visualization to prepare for high-pressure situations. Maintain physical health. Regular exercise, sleep, and balanced nutrition strengthens both body and mind. Identify personal triggers. Understand situations that provoke anxiety or panic and develop strategies to manage them. Reinforce routines. Small, consistent rituals build mental stability and make it easier to navigate uncertainty. Okay, now, once a crisis happens, things change, and you've got to change your strategy. All right, so during a crisis, you want to maintain structure. Keep your routines where possible, even in modified form, to provide psychological stability. Break challenges into steps. Focus on manageable actions rather than becoming overwhelmed by the situation as a whole. Practice mindfulness. Use grounding techniques to stay present and focused on immediate priorities. Prioritize self-care. Ensure hydration, nutrition, and rest to maintain mental resilience and physical resilience. Engage support networks. Periodically check in with trusted friends, mentors, or community members to reinforce perspective and reduce isolation. Now, in the military, in the Marine Corps, I don't know if they got this in the Army, but in the Marine Corps, we had this thing called embracing the suck. So what this is it's a coping mechanism. And here's some of the key aspects of embracing the suck. First off, you want to acknowledge your discomfort. Hunger, fatigue, fear, and stress are inevitable in a crisis. And then the next step is to accept them. Don't resist them. Lean into challenges rather than wishing them away. Next one, train for resilience. Exposure to controlled hardships strengthens mental and spiritual endurance. Focus on action. Shift attention from complaining or fear to problem solving and adaptation. And finally, find purpose in difficulty. Embracing the suck allows you to discover opportunities and meaning amid the chaos. All right. So we've looked at what happens before the crisis. We've looked at what you can do during the crisis. Now let's look at what you can do after a crisis. First thing, process experiences. Reflect on emotional responses, challenges, and successes to promote recovery and growth. Reconnect with routines and networks. Maintain rituals and engage with support structures to ease lingering anxiety or disorientation. Assess and learn. Identify lessons learned to refine personal strategies and strengthen preparedness for future events. And finally, focus on proactive recovery. Treat post-crisis recovery as an opportunity to enhance resilience rather than simply endure. By taking these deliberate actions, the individual transforms support structures and passive safety nets into active tools for resilience. Once personal stability is maintained, the next natural step is extending this strength outward, helping others navigate their own crises, and reinforcing community resilience. Yeah, embracing the suck also promotes good stories afterwards. So again, like I said before, I spoke about being your own first responder mentally and spiritually. You're also a first responder for others' mental health and spiritual health. All right. So just as we're trained, or at least prepared to act as first responders to physical health emergencies, the same principle applies to mental and spiritual health events. When a friend, family member, or colleague faces emotional distress, panic, or spiritual disorientation, immediate recognition and thoughtful intervention can prevent further deterioration. Waiting for professional help is often necessary, but steady support from someone who understands and cares can be equally vital. I had a misspelling there. That's why I had to go back and look at that again. Here's some practical actions we can do to support others. Listen actively. Give your full attention without judgment or interruption, validating their feelings and experiences. Offer grounding techniques. Encourage deep breathing, mindfulness exercises, or short physical activities to help reduce immediate stress. Provide reassurance. Remind them that their feelings are normal, that support is available, and that they are not alone. Encourage connections. Help them reach out to trusted networks, mentors, and professional resources if needed. Model calm behavior. Demonstrating composure and rational thinking can provide a stabilizing influence during heightened emotional moments. That's one of the huge keys in Marine Corps leadership is providing that stable, composed leadership. And that's what we have to do for those around us. By acting promptly and thoughtfully, individuals serve as first line of support for others' mental and spiritual well-being, helping to prevent crises from escalating. This proactive encouragement strengthens relationships, fosters trust, and reinforces the resilience of both the individual and the community, creating a foundation of stability and mutual support that endures through challenging events. All right, now we're getting to the end here. Without losing hope, integrating mental and spiritual resilience. Throughout this chapter, presentation, live stream, video, if you're coming to this late, I'm basically reading the chapter for this topic out of the book that I'm writing, okay? Throughout this chapter, we've explored how mental and spiritual resilience form the unseen essential foundation of preparedness. In urban and suburban crises, where stress, uncertainty, and intensity are tested as intensely as the body. By cultivating personal routines, trusted relationships, and broader support structures, individuals can fortify themselves against fear, despair, and disorientation. Acting as your own first responder, maintaining daily practices, and supporting others are not optional. These are vital steps in preserving clarity, purpose, and the will to endure before, during, and after a crisis. Even with personal resilience and strong network in place, the challenges are large. Interconnected communities cannot be faced in isolation. That doesn't make any sense either. Got to go rewrite that line. Mental and spiritual health thrive when most individuals are connected to wider communities that share knowledge. And that's the next topic. We'll go ahead and stop right there. That's going to be next week's video. And it's the last of the 10 aspects of full spectrum preparedness. I hope that by watching this video and me giving you this information that I've at the very least got you thinking about the aspect of mental and spiritual resilience. It's probably the most important aspect because it ties everything together. And when it falls apart, everything else is guaranteed to fall apart. We've all known somebody that had mental breakdowns and could not function, either during an event or something that happened in their life. And it's an important aspect. And I encourage everybody to go dig deeper into this topic. This is just a 10,000 foot view. There are a lot of good stuff out there. Personally, what I would suggest doing next time you're at the hospital, swing by the trauma care people and swing by the chaplain's office, because I guarantee you they've got some great handouts on handling PTSD, handling stress, handling spiritual crises during an emergency. It's all fantastic information. All right. Listen, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Again, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you come on the journey with us. Hit the thumbs up and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is coming out. Comment down below. If you're watching this on the rerun and you made it this far, I say thank you. And comment down below. I want to know what you think about this. Share your experiences with us so that we can become more prepared mentally and spiritually. Most importantly, I want you guys to go out tomorrow and live a life done free. Take care, guys.
Survival isn't just about having the right gear, it's about mindset. In a world without the rule of law, what will you do to survive? WROL isn't just a game, it's a tool to hone your preparedness and survival mindset. Test your instincts, outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver your opponents in a world that's fallen apart. With WROL, every card you play challenges your thinking, tests your adaptability, and sharpens your ability to make tough decisions under pressure. Whether you are planning for an everyday emergency or prepping for the end of the world, WROL helps you prepare for the chaos of everything in between. Ready to level up your survival skills? Click the link in the description to order your deck of WROL cards today and start building your SHTF mindset. The apocalypse starts here.